Hey everybody, I'm Miss Lauren from the Medina County District Library here at our Medina branch. I'm an associate in the children's department, and what I want to do today is talk to you about one of my favorite things, which is food and cooking. But I wanted to take you on sort of a journey through our nonfiction section, maybe some books that don't necessarily come to mind when you think of nonfiction books, and that's our cookbook section. We have a ton of books here in our children's department that are full of kid-friendly recipes that are not just for adults to cook for their kids, but that inspire kids to cook as well and get involved in the kitchen. So maybe cooking and being in the kitchen together as a family or cooking side by side with your kids is something that you already do, and that's great. And I hope you find some books that you can check out and pick up that are going to spark your interest. Or maybe you've started watching this and you thought, I have never cooked and I'm a terrible cook. I would argue that's probably not true. Everybody's almost made peanut butter and jelly, or maybe you have boiled water for pasta. Then you can kind of cook. And all of the books I'm going to talk about today are from all sorts of skill levels, from very basic, just learning how to cook, all the way for some of our younger chefs who might be a little bit more advanced in the kitchen. So why cookbooks? Why am I talking to you about all kinds of cookbooks today? Like I said, it's one of my favorite things to do. I love cookbooks. I love cooking. I love food and eating. But we're talking about children's cookbooks. So I also wanted to touch upon the fact that there are literacy skills that kids can learn from cooking and being in the kitchen with their adults. So for example, just like any other book that kids read, there's literacy skills involved in that. So expanding vocabularies, learning new words, trying out some different, food has a language all of its own, so learning some different terminologies. So again, there's literacy skills involved with that. It's also following a recipe, so having kids practice how to follow something in a proper order. Sort of we call that procedural learning. That's involved in reading a recipe and following a recipe. We're talking about things like math skills, so measuring and volume, and if you have to double a recipe, how do you double a recipe? How do you have a recipe? Talking about fractions. And then on top of that, there's things just like mastering a new skill. So maybe there's a new recipe that you all are trying together that you might have never attempted before. Learning something like that, learning a new recipe, learning a new skill, builds confidence, which we know is incredibly important for kids and adults. And it's something that you can do together as a family. So I've broken down a bunch of cookbooks that we have that I've pulled off the shelf here at our Medina branch. I've broken them down into different categories. So hopefully you find something that sparks your interest today, something that your kiddos want to get involved with, a book that they think is really cool, something you want to check out at your local branch. So let's get started. Okay, so first up, if you have ever wanted to cook with your favorite characters, the first cookbook I'm going to share with you today is this one. This is the Star Wars cookbook, Wookiee Cookies and Other Galactic Recipes. So this cookbook is awesome if you are a fan of Star Wars fans of any age. All of the recipes come from a galaxy far, far away. Everything is Star Wars themed inside, and this is great for probably elementary age and up. So if you're a Star Wars fan, check out the Star Wars cookbook, Wookiee Cookies and Other Galactic Recipes. Okay, so I know My Little Pony is incredibly popular right now. So if you have a little chef at home who likes My Little Pony, highly recommend this baking book. All of the recipes inside are very sweet. There's lots of sweets, lots of rainbows, all the while cooking alongside your very favorite My Little Pony characters. So check this one out. Again, probably for cooks who are about elementary age or anybody who wants to cook alongside with their adult at home. And then we have Disney World. So if you wish you could visit Disney any time of the year, anytime you would like, if you've been there, you know that eating is a huge part of going to Disney World. Check out the unofficial Disney Parks cookbook. So anything from Dole Whip to Mickey shaped pretzels, all of the recipes, there's 100 of them inside this unofficial cookbook. All of them are magical recipes inspired by Disney World and Disneyland and all your favorite characters and parks there. Okay, next up, if you would like to eat what you read. So eating and reading go hand in hand sometimes. So the next cookbooks that I'm going to show you, they are inspired by our very favorite characters and our very favorite books. So first up, we have this awesome cookbook. It's called Cook Me a Story. It is a treasury of stories and recipes inspired by classic fairy tales. So we all know our favorite fairy tales. All the recipes inside of this book are inspired by them. The cool thing about this cookbook is that it's part picture book, part cookbook. So the author has gone through all of our favorite classic fairy tales, and they've reimagined the stories, and they've used food puns, which are kind of funny, inside of the book. So you have recipes like 3 chili goats gruff, and Snow White and the 7 dumplings. So it's funny, it's humorous, part picture book, part cookbook. And this is Cook Me a Story. So you can check this out at the Medina Library. All right, so Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls Wilder, is absolutely classic fiction for kids. So if you are a fan of Laura Ingalls Wilder, if you've read all the Little House on the Prairie books, you're definitely going to want to check out these 2 cookbooks that I have. So this is the Laura Ingalls Wilder cookbook. Try to get a good picture of it there. So this is really cool. This book goes into a lot of the history of the stories behind Little House on the Prairie and all of the recipes. There's pictures inside of here to talk about life as a pioneer. So all of the recipes in this book are inspired by Little House on the Prairie and what it was like to live and cook in that time period. Another cookbook that we have that has to do with Little House on the Prairie is this one. This is the Little House Cookbook. And these are frontier foods from Laura Ingalls Wilder's classic stories. What I really love about this one, there aren't any pictures in this book in particular, but the author has gone through all of the Little House on the Prairie books, all of them, and she has found all sorts of references to different foods, different meals that the family shared together. And then she has created her own recipes that are authentic based on the stories. So if you're a fan of Laura Ingalls Wilder, if you've read these books, they're books that span generations, go ahead and check this out from your local library. Okay, so the next 2 cookbooks that I'm going to talk about, they are not available necessarily on our shelves. You can definitely check them out online as part of our digital collection. So C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. If you have read or watched The Chronicles of Narnia, they were books first. Check these out. If you are a fan of Narnia and that entire fantasy world, there is an entire cookbook devoted to recipes inspired by those stories. So this is the unofficial Narnia cookbook, and there's all kinds of recipes inspired by the characters and the stories in Narnia. Very cool. So again, it's the unofficial cookbook, the unofficial Narnia cookbook. So check that one out. And last but not least, if you love Harry Potter, if you've read Harry Potter, you've watched Harry Potter, you've read all the books a million times, and you are a fan of Harry and the magical wizarding world, then you are not going to want to miss the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook. So if you've ever been curious what it's like to eat a meal at Hogwarts, or any of the cool foods that you've read about from Hogsmeade, or what it'd be like to eat in the Great Hall, definitely check out the unofficial Harry Potter cookbook. So all sorts of recipes inspired by the magical world of Harry Potter. So next, I wanted to introduce a couple of different items and materials we have in our collection for the very youngest chefs in your family. So the very littlest chefs that you have that are interested in food or cooking, or if you would like to introduce them to the ideas behind cooking and food, I've got some really cool items that you can find here. So first we have, this is from Sesame Street. This is called Let's Cook. So I know lots of families they watch Sesame Street with their kiddos. We've got lots of favorite characters inside this book. I love this cookbook because all of the recipes inside are broken down with specific steps that kids are able to help with. So if you're interested in something like learning how to make a salad, you can tear the lettuce, or they can help get ingredients. And they're for very little kids too. So a lot of the books I've talked about might be for somebody who's in elementary school, perhaps a little bit older, a little bit more advanced in the kitchen. These Sesame Street cookbooks are meant for the very littlest kiddos in your life. So this is called Let's Cook. What I also love about this one is it incorporates not just cooking and culinary skills, but it incorporates things like learning the alphabet, or learning how to count different colors. So you're learning lots of different skills if you're to check this out and go through it with your kids. So another Sesame Street book that we have, this is Cookie Monster's food truck. And this is Cookie Monster gets in his food truck and he discovers all kinds of different foods, different ingredients, different cultures. Again, sort of talking about the preparation of food and celebration of food. This is another fun one if your kiddos love Sesame Street. And again, this one is one that it's it's kind of a cookbook. There's a couple of recipes in here, but it's more laid out like a picture book. So that's another great option for your kiddos. So this is Cookie Monster's food truck. And then aside from just the books that we have, I did pull a couple of DVDs too. So we have a DVD from Highlights called Let's Eat. We have Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood. This is all about, this is called the Recipe for Fun collection. So it's some episodes and some different segments that are all about cooking with Daniel Tiger. And then again, we have Sesame Street, C is for Cooking. So lots of different options. If you're interested in something like a DVD set for your kiddos, for those little chefs in your life, check these out as well. And then I did pull two books that I think are must check outs, must reads for any kids who definitely want to pursue the culinary arts, who want to be a professional chef. This is called The Young Chef: Recipes and Techniques for Kids Who Love to Cook. This particular book was curated by an instructor at the Culinary Institute of America. So that is one of the premier colleges where folks go to study the culinary arts. They offer degrees in culinary arts and baking and pastry arts, culinary science, applied food studies, all kinds of things that are related to cooking and becoming a chef. I absolutely love this book because it has whole chapters devoted to things like food safety, foodborne illnesses, different knife skills, different techniques, and it breaks it down in a really kid-friendly way. So this is called The Young Chef. Check this one out. And then America's Test Kitchen. Many of us are familiar with America's Test Kitchen if you watch it on TV. They have a number of cookbooks. We have a ton of them at any of your Medina County District Library branches. This one, again, is especially for young chefs. This is the complete cookbook for young chefs. And what I absolutely love about America's Test Kitchen is the recipes aren't just curated and published, so they are always tested not just by professional chefs, but by home cooks as well. So all of the recipes included in this book have been tested by kids, they have been cooked by kids, so they are kid approved on multiple levels. So check this one out. We have lots of cookbooks for kids by America's Test Kitchen, and something I also want to shout out about is they have a really great website. So if you go to their website, there is a section specifically for kids that have additional recipes and activities. They even have a subscription box if you're interested in that. So again, this is America's Test Kitchen, the complete cookbook for young chefs. So these final few cookbooks that I found didn't necessarily fit in with any of the other categories that I showed you today, but I just had to share them with you because they're other really cool books that you don't want to miss. So I just talked about America's Test Kitchen. This is another one of their newer cookbooks. This is the complete DIY cookbook for young chefs. This is really fun because it tells you how to make certain things that typically we would just buy at a grocery store, not even thinking about it. But it tells you how to DIY those things. So some really cool examples are sprinkles. Usually just buy them in a jar or container, but this book teaches you how to make your own sprinkles. Things like macaroni and cheese powder or butter, hot fudge, lots of cool DIY opportunities in this book. Really, really fun. The last one I want to share with you, the title does not lie. This is called The Gross Cookbook. And flipping through the pages, looking at the pictures on the cover, they did not lie. It's seriously, it's pretty gross, but it's cool, which is why I wanted to share it with you. Because sometimes cooking isn't necessarily just about making it taste really amazing or making it look really pretty. It can sometimes be about making it seem kind of gross. So if that's something that interests you and you like your cuisine with a side of creepy, definitely check out The Gross Cookbook. I mean, seriously, you can just look at some of these pictures. Show you the back, like there's a brain that you can make, all sorts of cool but creepy stuff. So if that's your jam, check out The Gross Cookbook. So that wraps things up. I hope you enjoyed joining me for this video. I hope you found something that sparks your interest. There was a cookbook out there for everybody here on our shelves. I hope this video shows you that. Like I said, all of these books have been pulled right off the shelves here at our Medina branch. So that means you can come in and pick them up yourself. You can place a hold on them and we will send them to your favorite local branch from the Medina County District Library. And also many of these are available online as well in our digital collection. So through Hoopla, our Overdrive Libby app, you can find many of these cookbooks online as well if you prefer to have a digital copy. So thank you again for joining me. I can't wait to hear what kind of fun, cool recipes you've tried from these cookbooks, and we'll see you next time. Take care.